Sometimes it's called the lead nurturing cycle. Sometimes it's called the marketing funnel. Basically, the way we get clients, we make this mistake in the beginnings that it's obvious we're selling something. Entrepreneurship is humbling because in your ordinary life, there's a negative association with people who are always asking for things. But now, this is the really interesting part. The missing piece that a lot of people don't talk about is the idea of leverage. You've got to leverage other people's platforms, other people's networks, other people's knowledge, especially when you're starting out.
It's time to reinvent.
Sometimes it's called the lead nurturing cycle. Sometimes it's called the marketing funnel. Basically, the way we get clients or the way that we get customers. The first part of the cycle is attract. This is a point where nobody knows who you are, what you do. First thing you need to do is to let people know that you exist. It's a point of awareness because people can't buy from you if they don't know that you exist. The idea is that you want to get people's attention. The rookie mistake with this stage of attracting people and grabbing attention is that small business owners or people trying to create awareness about something, a podcast, a product, a song, we try to target everyone. And you know that saying, if you try to attract everyone, you end up getting no one? 100% true. Because let's say you are successful. Let's say you are able to attract all these people to what you're doing. You end up with a challenge. You've got a whole bunch of people that you've attracted, but they're not the right people. And that's why you see sometimes you find people who have big followings or influencers with a lot of subscribers, big numbers, but they can't sell anything to anyone because at this stage where you're attracting people, letting people be aware of what you are, where you're grabbing attention, don't try to grab the attention of everyone. Try to grab the attention of your ideal client, your ideal avatar. And when you're starting out, it's kind of hard because, I've created this wonderful thing and anyone can use this wonderful thing. Or everybody would be interested in this channel or everybody would be interested in this podcast. And it's a huge mistake. I did it myself and I resisted that. You've almost got to repel the people that are not your people, which is a hard thing to do when you're starting out, but it's a necessity because if you attract the wrong people, you've messed up the whole cycle because you've let people go into the funnel at the top part. You've attracted all these people and there are a whole bunch of people that you can't convert because they're not the right people for what you're selling. So avoid that rookie mistake. Do not try to attract everyone. Know who your ideal client is. Who is the person that you want to work with? Know them in detail. Know what interests them. Know the things they struggle with. Know their value system. Create the kind of thing that if you grab someone's attention and they're not the right person, it should be that that person is like, no, not for me. Don't be afraid of that. You need that because get the right people in the funnel, you have a greater chance of being able to convert those people. What you get is you get people who raise their hands to whom, hey, this is for me, which is what you want in this cycle. Because if you get the wrong people in, you've messed up the whole thing. So the other thing is, at the grabbing attention stage, you want to think about how do you best show up? There's a lot of noise in social media. You want to make sure that when you do grab someone's attention, you grab their interest enough for them to want to know some more. And part of that is understanding how you best show up. I've designed a simple, quick 2-minute quiz that kind of helps you think through what is the best communication style for you. So whether that's writing or whether that's spoken, or whether that's visual, you're a presenter and that's where you shine best. We've got our ideal client. We understand how we show up best. We have a message that addresses the pain point of our ideal client and repels anyone else who is not part of our ideal client. At this stage, if you can message correctly your unique selling proposition, basically just telling people why you, why this offer, and so what. The attract phase is really interesting because this is the point where maybe if you have a lead magnet, something that speaks to the pain point of your ideal client, you send them there so that you have an opportunity to nurture these people. And you have a strong call to action, whether it's a subscribe, whether it's a follow. The lovely thing about the change in social media that's happening right now is it's no longer follower based or subscriber based, and it's more interest based. So the people who are interested in what you are sharing through your content are the ones who are more likely to come across it, which is really great because if that's their interest, they're more likely to see that again because they've watched or they've shown interest in what it is that you have. But either way, you want to have like a bold call to action. You've got a lead magnet for that ideal client to be able to get a quick win, something that addresses their immediate pain points. The next part of the cycle is nurture. And at this phase, all you're doing is you're establishing credibility. I think there's a statistic of which they say 3 to 5%. I think that's the stat of people who are looking to buy in your market at any one point in time. So all the other people that you've attracted at that point, they're not ready to buy, but it's an opportunity for you to convince them that you are a credible person. Remember, this is a customer journey funnel. Part of it is also helping your potential client know that they're a person who can take this information, act upon it, and get the results they want to get. The goal at this stage is really credibility, also being relatable. We talk about that know, like, trust factor. And this is the part where people get to trust you. I think about some of my most recent purchases. I watched a couple of their YouTube videos before coming to the point of, oh, you know, I really need their service. I really like them. And I think I can take what they have to offer and use it to achieve the result that I'm after. So, this part of nurturing is really important, especially in this market where the buying cycle has become longer than ever. People are rarely making impulse buys. Your buyer is an informed buyer. This nurture part is really important. This is the part where, through your content, you're addressing some of the things that prevent people from buying. For example, you might create content about misconceptions about what it is that you do. If you're a coach, you might talk about how other people have been burned by coaches and how to avoid this. You're really addressing all the reasons why your potential client wouldn't want to buy. And you're also taking this opportunity to showcase your credibility, your competence, the results that other people have gotten, basically priming your potential client to buy. The rookie mistake at Nurture is just creating random content. And you don't want to create random content. You want to sit down and create a series or multiple series that address certain issues so that there's a flow that is addressing the things that would be of interest to your ideal client. Because if you lose their attention at this point, then you're stuck in a cycle of attracting and then starting to nurture and then attracting again and starting to nurture, and you never get to the point of getting to convert. The next stage, which is convert, is the point where you sell. Ask for that sale in a way that is straightforward, that is deliberate. You're not sneaking in the idea that you're trying to sell something in your copy. You're not kind of hinting at it. You're not assuming that it's obvious that you're selling something because that's your title. This is also another big rookie mistake. And I made the mistake a lot. Don't assume that, of course, you're a business person. Of course, you're selling something. People should want to buy. You actually have to ask for the sale. You have to let people know. In 2 weeks, I have a workshop for this kind of person to bring about this transformation. And if you go to this link, you'll see more details of how to purchase your spot. And you have to keep asking for that sale as you're building up to the 2 weeks. Don't forget to ask for the sale, or else all this is for nothing. You've got to get to the point where you ask directly for the sale. And many entrepreneurs, including myself, we make this mistake in the beginning stages that it's obvious we're selling something. Entrepreneurship is very, very humbling because in your ordinary life, there's sort of a negative association with people who are always asking for things. But in entrepreneurship, you've got to understand that this is how you get the sale. You've got to ask. And it's a really humbling thing because most of us have grown up not wanting to ask for things or wanting to get to the point where we don't have to ask other people for things. And in entrepreneurship, it's almost like reversing that mindset, understanding that if you have something of value that can help someone, then you need to ask. You need to humble yourself, ask for permission to help that person. And that's basically what the sale is. You're asking for permission to help that person. Now, this is the really interesting part. This marketing funnel, attracting, nurturing, converting, it can take a really, really long time. And what ends up happening, because there's so much noise on social media, because you don't have enough experience sharing your message through your content, because you haven't yet been able to refine your message, all these variables that take time as you discover what works and what doesn't work, people give up. An important thing to know is also use leverage. The missing piece that a lot of people don't talk about is the idea of leverage. You've got to leverage other people's platforms, you've got to leverage other people's networks, you've got to leverage other people's knowledge, especially when you're starting out, and even more so when you kind of come along in business. But still, at the beginning, you really need leverage. So, the first form of leverage is one that's obvious. We've talked about it in a previous video about masterfully repurposing your content so that you have that being in a lot of places without adding much extra work to what you're doing, just making sure that you're findable in the places where you feel that your ideal client is hanging out a lot and is active. If you didn't watch that video, you can watch that video about how to masterfully repurpose your content. That's one part of the leverage. But there's also the other part of leverage where it's about getting into the right rooms. Now, this one is one that I think people don't talk about enough. You on your own, creating content, reaching out to people, repurposing your content is great, but you need to get into the right rooms, because what I mean by getting into the right rooms is you've got to be in places where, one, your ideal client is hanging out. You've got to be in places where other business owners who are also starting out are hanging out. You also want to be in places where other business owners who are way ahead of you in the same niche or the same industry are hanging out. Because what this does is propel the rate at which you move, you propel your ability to learn. At the beginning, you might not have a lot of money to spend on pay to play memberships, also pay to play memberships that are not very expensive. By making them paid memberships, they weed out people who are dabbling. I've done the YouTube video thing, I've read the books. I now need to tap into other people's experience and I need to tap into what other people know. So that's what you get for pay to play memberships. Because there's some things that if you don't get around other people, it's going to take you forever to learn. And remember, you already have this marketing funnel that's going to take a while for you to begin to see the results of what you've been building. But don't let that discourage you. Taylor Weil talks about it, and he says that content is one of the biggest moats that you can create around your business. Think about it. You have maybe a graphic designer. You have a graphic designer with no content who's just got a LinkedIn profile that says they're a graphic designer. And then you've got a graphic designer. They've got the profile, they've got the portfolio on the profile, they've got the YouTube videos talking about what they do, they've got the Facebook page with examples of their work. It's night and day. You can't compare that. In this day and age, you find informed buyers. They need to be sure that when they part with their money, they're happy to part with it because they've convinced themselves through your content that you made for them to move them along their buying journey, that you can do what you say you can do. So, right, getting into the right rooms. Once again, this can be like free online groups as well. There are Facebook groups that are filled with your ideal client, with the business owners at the same level as you, and these are all free. Facebook groups with people who are a little bit ahead of you. Find these groups and get in there and build relationships. Ask questions, contribute. This is really important because, sometimes we go into these groups and we just have that mentality of wanting to get a client and wanting to take. And I really challenge you to turn that upside down. Get into these groups and contribute. Because what happens when you contribute, immediately you stand out. And people are more interested in working with someone who's a giver. The words of Gary Vaynerchuk: jab, jab, right hook. Give, 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 and then ask. Take that mentality into all these groups, build relationships. And business is all about relationships because you may not have access to your client, but someone you know may have access to your client. Be a person who leads with value before you ask for anything. You'll be far ahead of a lot of people by just doing that. Being humble enough to ask questions of other people, of their experience, and also to contribute before you think about what can I get. Pay to play memberships will accelerate your business journey, which is what you want. You don't want to be moving slow. You want to have situations where you leap ahead in your business because of the proximity to people who know. Another room could be your local chamber of commerce. Sometimes we emphasize these online groups so much, but there's so much to be said about meeting people in person and getting to know people and being able to go out for a coffee with someone who's also running a business and just having that network of support. People say entrepreneurship is a lonely sport, but it really doesn't have to be. It's a lonely sport because we spend so much time trying to create success on our own, which is like counterintuitive. You can't create success on your own. You need other people. So making the time to meet with other people and genuinely connect, learn from them, contribute to them, refer them, give them information so they can refer you as well comfortably. So give and take. The last leverage is creating a referral pipeline. Now, there are three modes to doing this. Proactively, looking for collaborations. In those right rooms, there are people who are looking to collaborate with someone like you. Looking for podcasts where you can be a guest. With podcast guesting, this is a rookie mistake that I see a lot, is that you find someone trying to get on a podcast where the podcast and what they do, there's zero alignment. And you don't want to do that because, once again, remember the awareness stage in your marketing funnel. You want the right people to come into your funnel, your ideal client. So you want to look at what is the podcast about? Who is the audience of this podcast? What are the topics on this podcast that are doing well? You can use YouTube as an indicator of like, oh, that episode got a lot of views or that episode got a lot of engagements, which means the people are interested in this. Either way, even if it's a small podcast, when you're starting out, don't try and get on the biggest podcast because they want to know who are you and you don't have any proof of who you are. But you want to start with podcasts that will definitely say yes to you. The great part about podcast guesting is that this podcast lives on Apple Podcasts and lives on Spotify forever. A person who's searching for that information might not find it today. They might find it in 6 months, they might find it in 2 years, but they will find it. And so you always want to bring your best to podcast guesting and collaborations. I might do a video on that. Let me know if you're interested in that. The next part, actively creating a referral pipeline, being really aggressive about collecting reviews. If you're just starting out and you don't have any reviews, I would suggest creating a beta offer of what you do and maybe charging a fraction of what you would charge for that offer in exchange for getting a review. You really got to be creative. You really got to be resourceful. Like I said, entrepreneurship is humbling because you've got to be willing to have the end goal in mind. And what that means is if you want to collect reviews and you're not getting any clients at your current price, be creative. Let the person know that for 20% of what you're going to charge eventually, you're willing to serve them in this way in exchange for their honest review. You will get people. And once you get a few reviews, this is really powerful proof because that's what people are looking for. They want to know, well, who you say you do this, but who have you done this for? And what have they said? So really being aggressive about collecting reviews. Also, direct mail. It's interesting to talk about direct mail because some people don't believe in sending cold emails, but you can send cold emails. If you have a sales letter that you've already crafted, you can send it as a cold email. You can create a video and have it as a video sales letter, something that you put on YouTube and is there doing its thing in the background. That's the purpose of content. You can do it as a podcast and you have it there as an audio sales letter. It's really important to think about ways to make this process more fruitful and ways to make it faster and ways to quickly get to what your client is looking for. The other way is passive. And I'd suggest any content marketing strategy have a place for paid ads because you get to your people faster. And that don't mean that you're going to run a paid ad and immediately you get a customer. Remember, it's still the same sales funnel, but you're just speeding it up through paid ads. You're going to create awareness campaigns to get people into your funnel. And then you're going to nurture those people and then eventually convert them. And then you're going to run ads where you retarget those people that you've grabbed their attention and nurture them some more. This is the part of marketing that people don't talk about because we just assume, especially when you're starting out, I did at least, assume that if you just show what you're doing, somebody's going to buy it. And there's so much noise in the markets and there's so many people offering a lot of things. The important thing is that they're also your people, people who are looking for exactly what you offer, the kind of person that you are to work with in the way that you offer, providing that extra detail to help sort of push people over the line if they were thinking of working with you or not so sure. The purpose of content is that it works when you're not working. So if you start creating content, do not stop. Please keep creating content because you gain a history that clients can go through. You get better at creating content. And we're in a phase where there are a lot of content creators. Your content's actually got to be good. And in order to get good, it's really a practice, practice, practice. You know, there's no other way unless you hire someone with the experience to run your content for you. Otherwise, if you're going to do it yourself, you've really got to get in that time of practice and make better content intentionally. Look at other people's content and think about it. What's missing in yours? How can you improve it? How can you attract better? How can you nurture better? And how can you ask for that sale better? And then look at those avenues of getting into the right rooms and creating a referral pipeline. A lot of people make videos where they say, you don't have to create content. And the interesting part about it is you're listening to them say that in the content they created. So a lot of times, we're looking for something that affirms the fact that we don't have to do something. And rather than listening to what people say, watch what they do. Big brands, people who are well known, who are megastars in their industries, are creating content. Why are they doing that? I'm going to make a little bit of a bold prediction. I think that in the coming years, it's going to be hard to sell anything to anyone unless you have media assets, unless you have enough content out there to verify that you are a credible person, that your business is real, that you've been doing this a long time. The content you're creating today, you're going to be thankful that you did that in a few years from now. Because if I refer back to the words of Taylor Welsh, content is one of the biggest moats that you can create around your business. If you're in this for the long term, don't give up. Keep going, keep improving, and use all the information that is out there to create something better. People are watching, and everybody loves to root for someone who started off not so great, but they were doing it anyway. And 6 months later, oh, ooh, there's a change there. And 1 year later, people love to root for people who are putting their all, their passion into their mission and elevating how they do things so they can serve their people. Thank you for watching, and I'll link my previous video about masterfully repurposing content without burning out and while maintaining a high quality standard. Please watch that if you didn't watch that before. Thanks you again for watching.